Good afternoon, everyone. We are welcoming Mr. Subhashis Nath from GRMI for our thoughts on education initiative. And Sir has a very enriching professional experience in enterprise risk and compliance consultancy. And he's a founder of GRMI. And I would like, I would like to hand it over to you to know more about you, about your career experiences, and what was your reason for, what are the key factors for founding GRMI, and what are the opportunities that lie with the students for their career with GRMI. So handing it over to you, sir.
Thanks. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Akash, for having me on this platform. Thanks, College Linear. Just by way of quick background on myself, I started my career with a firm that some of you may not know about today, Arthur Andersen. Back then, it was by far the biggest of the big five accounting firms. Today, you hear about big four. Spent about a decade with them. In my last role was leading up risk consulting for the South India market for Andersen. Post that, when the firm folded up, we became EY in India, had an opportunity to spend 2 years with the Global Center of Excellence of EY out of Cleveland, Ohio. Co-authored EY's Global SOX Advisory Methodology, which back then was referred to as the Brown Book, but I guess still remains quite a reference point for everyone globally. And by the end of that stint, I was pretty clear in my mind that risk professionals from India had every right to, like in many other professions, be truly global leaders in their own right. Because I was fortunate enough to get to work with some of the best and the brightest minds across multiple countries, both in my Andersen stint and when I was at the Global Center of Excellence of EY. And I was absolutely convinced that if we could set up a risk consulting firm out of India, then our ability to service the globe would certainly stand out as a big differentiator. That's what brought me back to the country. I set up what was back then called Access Risk Consulting, September 2004. We ran it as a pretty successful practice. Still early part of 2008, we chose to do a 100% sell to Genpact. The brand continued till about mid of, I think it was 2017 or something like that, when we rebranded ourselves as Genpact Enterprise Risk Consulting LLP. That's primarily because we've become significant enough for us to be starting to use the Genpact brand. Today, it's a team of about close to 850, 900 plus professionals. We service 6 of the Fortune 20 companies across the world. And clearly we are one of an only of its kind model where the India team services the best of the world and we own those relationships. Very different from what any of the other big fours do in the country or what any of the other big fours I think will do even going forward for some time to come. Now, having had that long stint of about now close to 28 years of risk advisory, I guess about 7-8 years back, I would say I realized that the one thing all of us heard from is lack of talent that understands what's risk management. We all go out there, hire graduates, we hire MBAs, we hire CAs, and we believe that they're the ones who have a right to become risk professionals. And I had figured out from in my own head that while I'm a CA by profession, nothing that I've learned in my CA days actually make me a great risk professional. While I'm an eco grad by pre-CA, nothing of my eco graduation days helps me become a better risk professional. It's your ability to have an understanding of the business world. It's your business acumen. It's your analytical thinking. It's your communication skill. It's your ability to use collaborative logic thinking where you can corroborate facts around you. And it's your executive presence. That's what makes fantastic risk professionals. So if no one was being taught that in any of our education institutions, and not just India, by the way, when I set up GRMI, I spoke to about 50 plus global leaders. If anybody looks at the board of governors of GRMI, you would see the kind of stalwarts that sit on our board of governors. not only is our board an absolute body of luminaries, not only is our strategy board a board of luminaries, but even the board of governors, who are largely global names, they kind of gave me the conviction that this didn't exist anywhere in the avatar that we exist in the world. So just like when I had set up Access Risk Consulting, I was confident that we were setting up a disruptive model of India risk consulting for the globe. 16 years down the line, I'm confident to say we were proven right. Nobody's replicated that model till date. Setting up GRMI, one was pretty confident that one was setting up an institute which has an opportunity. I'm not saying it will, but it has an opportunity to be a disruptive force. It has an opportunity to do a lot of good for our future talent, and it has an opportunity to do a lot of good for the country, because you keep hearing of made in India. Have you thought about making leaders in India instead of only manufacturing products? Does our education system truly make future leaders, or do we make MBAs? Or do we make CA toppers? So this institute is aimed at making a difference to people's lives. And that's why I set it up. I do believe that I've always held that a risk professional makes the best CEO of any company. Because if the CEO is not managing the topmost risks of the company, then possibly the CEO is not doing his or her job. And therefore, if a risk professional makes the best CEO, we think the Institute offers an opportunity to all its students to actually become potential future leaders for the country and the world. I know, long answer, Akash, but hopefully that gets you enough context on the Institute, what's there for students and myself. Right, you, Akash.
Yeah. So, sir, that's you have given a very thorough reason and like very good initiative on that part. So, we would also like to know what is the philosophy of leadership and how do you describe your leadership style?
So, I'm sure you guys have asked this question to many people, and everyone has their own view on it. Mine is somewhat formed by mentors I have in turn have been fortunate to learn from. To me, a leader is just about as good as his or her team. That's the first and foremost value of leadership. If you can build a team that builds you, that trusts you, that would do anything because they believe that they are doing it with a sense of ownership, if they get a sense that they are the true creators of whatever they might be doing, it could be a solution, it could be an organization, it could be an institute, it could be a relationship. If you can create the sense of belonging, and if you can create that sense of trust, then you create a team that makes you a leader. And I've always believed that no leader can do any more than what their team can do. Yes, you may have your own responsibilities as a leader to be having an ability to vision, an ability to think disruption, to be able to think innovatively. Those are qualities that you need to have in yourself. But you can have all of that and still be an absolute failure if you didn't have a team that can truly make it real. I consider myself super fortunate that when I set up Access, there were a set of people who believed in a dream. It was no more than a dream. The company didn't have a name. We didn't have clients. And yet I expected people to give up jobs from Big Fours and just join because we had a dream. And people did. And some of them are with us even today. If I look at my leadership team today in the consulting world, most of them are more than 10 years out of the 16 that the firm has existed. So they all joined at a point in time when it was barely a dream, or it was in its absolute nascency or adolescence. If I look at the Institute, a couple of individuals who've joined in, Jayant and Puneet, they had the most rocking risk careers happening in their lives. They would have today possibly been gunning at some extremely attractive positions and roles in Big Fours or even bigger brands than them. But they chose to believe in saying that, no, what we are doing is we are stepping out to make a difference. And without them, Institute wouldn't be what it is, because I'm barely a mentor. I really don't have the time outside of my, my commitment and my passion for enterprise risk consulting, Genpact, to do much beyond mentoring. But to me, that is leadership. It's you've got to create the team, have the ability to think disruption, think innovation, think 5 years, 10 years down the line. Coach and mentor a set of people who are as passionate as you are, and then just let them do things. They all will make mistakes. It's in your ability to accept that you didn't grow up as a leader without making 100 mistakes. And the reason you grew up and got a chance to be who you are is because someone believed in you. Someone gave you that runway. Many leaders, and most of us, I would say, very often forget those opportunities. And every time we see them, we say, oh, yeah, this guy really messed it up. You did too. Let them. It's a leader's responsibility. Coach, guide all the time. There are different ways to do it. You sometimes need to be harsher than others. I'm not saying you mollycoddle. You set very high standards. Right? In Anderson, we were taught that after a full stop, you had to leave 2 spaces. If you left 1, you really got a rap on your knuckle. So you can set standards as high as that. But then let them make mistakes. So again, there are various forms of leadership, but to me, that's work. And the last thing I would always say is that if people are not having fun in your organization, they will leave you someday. To me, that's been the one singular DNA that one has been clear about. Fun at work, and fun in the right sense. Fun at work keeps your team members with you way longer than money, promotion, or rewards and recognition can. Because you spend 80% of your waking hours with that team. If you're not enjoying your time with that team, you will not stay there. And the last thing you do as a leader is refer to anyone in your organization as an employee. I have hardly heard leaders who don't say, oh, we've done this for our employees. Sorry, you are an employee as well. You've done it for your team members. The day you respect everyone in your organization as being a team member and not an employee, you will change the culture completely. You will flip the way people view you because you've been respectful. Back to you.
So, sir, very rightly pointed out, like leadership is more about not only about managing the team, but it's more about making your team a leader down the line. So, coming to my next question, which is like, how do you plan to strategize the key programs, and also what are your plans for marketing and administration of the institute?
So, as you can imagine, Akash, this is an institute which has taken up a challenge on itself by getting into an area which is completely domain-led and a domain that's forever evolving and highly dynamic. You know, the whole concept of risk is you have to manage risk at the speed of risk because it changes every now and then, right? People are today talking about COVID, but what you don't realize is that there are many COVID variants that have hit the corporate industry before as well. The financial tsunami that happened, meltdown that people say, the financial meltdown was no less than a COVID for the business world, right? We've forgotten because all our personal lives were not impacted. But was the corporate world impacted? The answer is yes. When firms like Anderson go down, it's a massive meltdown. The entire world of risk and audit lost its faith in saying that, can any firm be trusted? When the PwC Satyam instance happened, didn't people start losing faith on, what's the system all about? So we are in a space where things are so dynamic with digital transformation. The entire risk portfolio of almost every company is changing. Cyber threats, sustainability. There are so many areas that no one can almost keep pace with the pace of change. So to your point, what do we think about strategically as an institute? I think for us, the biggest challenge is going to be to continue to ensure that our curriculum stays relevant. We've chosen to take up a challenge of not being a traditional B school where you could pretty much teach the same strategy theory which was taught 100 years back or now, with just the examples changing. Our curriculum will need to stay alive We just added some stuff last year on supply risk management. We've now added some stuff, even more evolved stuff on analytics. In the coming months, literally, we are going to add content around sustainability. So, to me, that's the biggest challenge. In terms of go-to-market, I think I'm a pretty simple believer in you are as good as your brand ambassadors are. So in the world of consulting, I had said our brand ambassadors are our customers. Our first biggest client in Axis was a $22 billion client with our fees being close to a couple of $1 million. That one client referred us to the next two. And then it kept growing. Exactly the same way, I believe for the Institute, we will do a little bit of our own social media stuff that people might see us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Quora, some of the very obvious ones. I don't think there's anything dramatically innovative about it. I think our website continues to be reasonably innovative. We have more content there than many others may possibly expect. But to me, our biggest marketing tool, our biggest marketing ammunition, our biggest marketing channel has to be our students being our brand ambassadors. And I take huge pride in saying that the way our small group of alumni comes back to us, shares their happiness, tells us the thrill of getting promoted twice within 24 months, and tries to source more people from our institute now into the organizations they are in because they almost feel that their lives got changed with the institute. The way the phone keeps ringing for a Puneet from different employers versus him having to chase up, that's our marketing strategy. Just ensure that your customers, and for the institute, the customers are the companies that hire from us. They should be delighted with the experience they have out of people that come from this institute. And for the individuals that who walk out of the institute to truly walk around as brand ambassadors. I've said this during my consulting to the consulting team that, guys, we will never advertise because you can advertise as much as you want, but I would dread to have a customer who buys risk services seeing a hoarding on the wall. I would much rather they see you walk the corridors of their office and say, who's that guy? I want to if you carry yourself as a profession, if that's the moving, walking, talking brand ambassador, and they get you reputation, that's the way to grow. So very similar philosophies, no matter where you are. Your people are your best brand ambassador. At the institute, it's the students, and your customers are your best brand ambassadors. At the institute, they are the organizations that hire people from GRMI.
So, sir, a very thoughtful plan, and also you have given us a glimpse into the curriculum. How do you decide the best practices your curriculum can include? My next question has two parts. One is my first question is what is the priority of your institutes over the next 10 years? And second, when you started the GRMI, what was your vision for the institute and how it has evolved over a period of time implementing your visions in the institute?
So let me start with the second part. It's interesting that people say vision statements have to keep changing because you got to be a visionary who keeps thinking. I don't think we believed in that. And I'll keep drawing parallel to my consulting experience because that's who I am as an individual, right? I set that business up 16 years back. This is 11 years behind it. But fundamentally, I couldn't have changed as an individual. The vision statement we had in the consulting business was, we want to be a India for globe provider in risk consulting, and we want to be known for our quality, and we want to be known to be a world beater. That's what the message was. I'm not repeating the vision statement, that's the message. That remains true even today. We want to be world beaters. We want to be an India firm that services globe, and we want to always ensure that there's no customer who's not delighted with our quality. Similarly, when I set up GRMI, I was very clear, and people used to laugh at me. I said, we want to be the Harvard of risk. That vision cannot change because we want to still be the Harvard of risk. How long does it take? What does it take? That's the how part of it. That's where we have a role to play. That's where timelines move. That's where you have to keep pace, change content, think of faculty differently, think of how do you disseminate knowledge. Can it forever remain a classroom program? Does it need to embrace some amount of online education? All of those are the tactical hows of it. But the vision can't change. We always were clear that if no one in the world has done this, and by the way, it's not a very easy one to set up, because understand that to set this up, you need three things to come together. One, you need to bring together the richest of risk domain in the team that runs the place itself. It's because everyone who runs the place understands what this is why they're able to run it. You can't bring in administrative CEOs and CFOs and deans and expect this institute to be different from the rest of the deans. The reason we have people like Jayant, Puneet, Chetan, these are all individuals who've been, in the risk and controls domain themselves. So first you have to find a set of people like that. Then you have to find that subset who are mad enough to give up things and then be in a startup, right? And then you have to find a subset of those people who also love education, because if you don't love education, you can't be in education. It's a very difficult stream to be in. People may think, education is a big, it's a big money-making business. Absolutely rubbish. That's the rubbish education in our country, which is a lot of money-making, where you teach your thousands and 2,000s and 10,000 students, and they do nothing with that education in history, civics, geography, political science, whatever we teach. But to run high-intense education is extremely difficult, because you have to have a passion to stay. It's like a doctor. You can't be a doctor without liking your passion. When you have patients walk into every day, you can't be a lawyer going and arguing your case in the court if you don't love your passion, because these are very intense in content. Education is similarly, domain-led education especially, is very intense in content. So to find people who understand, who are passionate, who are risk takers, who can get into a startup and love education is very difficult. So we don't think too many institutes like this will happen. And therefore, our vision of Harvard of risk, we still believe is right. How has it changed over time? I don't think I can say has changed much. You had a second part of the question I answered. What was the first part, Akash? Just help me with that.
What was the top priority for the institute over 10 years of time?
So top priority, again, hasn't changed too much. It's been, we have to bring the best of faculty to our students. We were very clear about that. And which is the reason we have a very unique model. We don't have any permanent faculty. How many startup institutions has anyone heard of who've had the guts to proudly call that out? We take pride in saying that. We take pride in saying that because that allows us to bring leaders who otherwise will never be able to make time. Take a Vinod Rao. He's a big corporate leader in Industars. Take Professor Vij out of an FMS. Why wouldn't someone who teaches in FMS, IMIs of the world, IIMs of the world, how on earth would she make time for us, right? How would anyone like take some of our other faculty, like Sabina, who teaches in Singapore? How would Sabina make time to give up everything and just be our permanent faculty? No way. So we were very clear that we were only going to live with the best of the breed. And for that, it required us to spend time in getting the right faculty. And by the way, that's a continuous state of motion. We continue to look out for top drawer faculty who are willing to be associated with us and give us some time. We're happy to share that we are very soon going to be adding a couple of more international faculty members. One of them who's been a former PwC risk leader out of Netherlands, has been a dean with one of the European universities as well. So he obviously is going to be a phenomenal add to our faculty set. So that was our top priority. The second most top priority, I would say, was we were always conscious of the fact that initially students who join us will not be those students who could have otherwise gone to IIM Ahmedabad. We weren't fooling ourselves into believing that, right? We didn't set up ourselves the way ISB did, which is set it up with a 100-acre campus. We didn't. We started off a rented little facility. We were very real about what we were venturing into. But therefore, we knew that we had to invest and overinvest on our students to ensure the students who joined us but weren't the absolute top end of talent when they joined us. We spent time with them through the year they were with the institute to transform them. We made a difference to individuals' lives. We've had students who've joined us who did not have a smartphone before they joined us, who did not have an internet connection in their home before they joined us. And today they're successful professionals in Big Fours. That was our second equally critical priority. Get the best of faculty, ensure you're committed to make a difference to the students' lives, because that is what the institute has been set up for.
My next question is for the students. So basically, we want to know what are the strengths of the GRMI, and what do you want the students out there to know about GRMI? The students who are looking for a career in risk management, and what do you want them to know?
So a few things. One, the world of risk management, obviously the ambit's increasing between process, digital side of it, sustainability, responsible sourcing, cyber. There are lots of areas. So the ambit of risk is increasing. But the world of risk management is just a mind-blowingly large career opportunity. That's number one. I can assure you today, there is no board that doesn't talk of risk. As an institute, we are pioneers not in what we are doing as an institute. We are pioneers in what we are doing, trying to do in the world of risk at a national level. Some of you may have seen this already. We are working along with FICCI. It's under the aegis of FICCI. We are working to build a risk code for India. The risk code for India is being developed by a team of about 18 to 20 icons in their world across academia, corporate world, board members, legal professionals, India and abroad. We have people from UK, US, South Africa, all over. The reason I'm giving all of this is that we know how much is yet to unfold itself in the world of risk. SEBI has just come up with guidelines for the top 1,000 market cap companies on what they need to do from a risk management committee perspective, RMC. So this is just tip of the iceberg. So it's a career that's got literally sky's the limit if you are good. It's a topic which requires the smartest and the brightest, because as I said, this is about analytical thinking. This is about being able to corroborate facts around you. It requires a lot of skills that no program teaches. And that's what our institute's program is aimed at providing to its students, which is helping you understand and assimilate knowledge in the real world. Everyone who's teaching you at the institute is someone who's done this in their practical life, or actually not even done, most of them do it currently. So that is how we keep saying we bring the best of the breed. People who've spent 20, 30 years just doing in real life, they are not essentially, best of academia people by track record, but they're deep on domain with a passion for teaching. They are at that stage of their lives where they now want to give back to the society and to the ecosystem and create an ecosystem of better risk professionals. That's what GRMI's role is. Its role is to bring together literally thousands of hours, if you think of it, across the faculty, across a board, across a strategy board, across a board of governance. It's actually thousands of years of experience being packaged in a real life scenario and disseminated to students to allow them to build a career in an area which we think sky's the limit. That's really what it is.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for a very wonderful session. With a closing remark, we would like to know, your point of view. If you want to give any suggestions to the current youth and the aspiring students for GRMI.
2-3 things. One, I genuinely believe that I find many students have lost a bit of purpose in their life beyond getting a job. That's one advice I definitely would have for students. Remember, till the day you remain a professional, learning has to be an essential of your success. So at least when you're an institute, never ever lose those hours to get an institute. Whether you're at GRMI or anywhere else you go, doesn't make a difference. Don't lose those hours that you have to learn. I always say, even to our consulting team today, that remember that many of our consulting team members who are 23, 24, 25 years of age are actually giving advice to professionals who are about 55, 60 years of age, who've done that for 30 years plus. How do you give that advice? It's because you are learning every nanosecond of your 4-year existence to be able to advise someone who spent 30 years in that and doing that only one thing. So my advice to any student is, A, please have a passion for learning through your life, not just when you're in institute. And I always remember that there is nothing more important in life than content. Yes, there are unfortunate cases of some empty boxes being successful as well. But I absolutely take pride in saying that empty boxes can make noise. But if someone once breaks that box, you get to see how empty it is. So don't take a chance of being that empty box who might succeed, because the day you crash completely. Having content, you may have a bad day, you may have a bad year, you may have a bad incident, but you have the inner metal to stand up, regroup, and get back to exactly where you want to do even better. All the very best, folks. Thank you so much once again. And as I said, in the current context, stay safe, stay well, and look forward to sort of more and more people who listen to this to become better risk professionals. For some, hopefully, to come to GRMI. And for the rest, we spread the word that this is a profession which has some fantastic years ahead of it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful advice to the students and giving us time on our episode.